Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to be working on movements that you can do while traveling, thinking road trip or airport. One of the things that's going to be limiting us in our movement practice when we travel is just having floor space. So taking advantage of movements that we can do in a seated or a standing position, seated in a chair, such as your car. Little things that we can do just to keep the spine and the hips moving that end up giving us best results for our period of travel. That's what we're going to be working on today. Largely standing and a little bit of seated work at the very, very end. So let's get started. So we're going to start with just simple crocodile breath. Making our nice big C shapes with our hands. Thumbs going in the back, feeling into that low back musculature. Index fingers are wrapping around the front to feel the abdominal musculature. Palms are pressing into that side body space. And I want the hands to be below the rib cage and above the hip bone in that nice meaty section of the abdominal wall. Also have nice hip to shoulder width stance for the feet. And I want to feel standing kind of like dead center arches of the feet. So feel nice, soft, grounded feet. And we're going to start with nice, big inhales in through the nose, out through the mouth. And with each inhale, we're seeing if we can expand that abdominal wall out like a balloon. On the exhale, as we draw the navel in to our spine, feel those hands kind of clench down to create more resistance for that next inhale breath. And with each inhale, we're seeing if we can get that wall, that abdominal wall, to expand further out. And again, I want to feel not just pushing forward into the belly. I also want to feel some expansion out through the low back and out through the sides. Notice, does it move easier through the belly? Is it harder to press out through the sides and into that low back? And more importantly, do you feel more movement on the right side or on the left side? Does one side move and the other side feels a little stiff and stuck? And then the last thing I want to kind of pay attention to are our shoulders. As we inhale, we tend to shrug and stiffen up. As we exhale, it's easy to let those stay stiff and stuck. So we want to feel that softening, allow that tension to relax from the shoulders, kind of like it's rinsing off onto the floor. We can go ahead and let the arms, hands soften down, relax down to the side. We're staying with our breath, and now we're going to start getting into pelvic tilts. The more we keep the low back and really the spine mobilized while we travel, makes a huge difference in how our back and hips feel once we get to our destination, and more importantly, once we get back home. So with that inhale, we're going to start getting into pelvic tilts. So as we inhale, allowing the pelvis to tilt forward, getting some sway in the low back. This is putting us into lumbar extension. As we exhale, we're scooping that tailbone underneath. See if you can feel some stretch in the low back. This is putting us into lumbar flexion. Moving back and forth. Generally, when we're sitting for hours at a time, this area is going to get really stiff and stuck. So the more we keep it moving, think about it like all we're doing is just spraying some WD-40 in there to keep it lubricated, keep things moving well. We're keeping up with that pelvic tilt. Inhale forward, big sway in the back. Exhale, scoop. And now we're going to add in our shoulders. So as we inhale, pelvis is tilting forward, big belly opening up. I want to spread the hands and spiral them up to the ceiling. Feel that chest open up at the top. As we exhale, drawing that navel into the spine, we're going to shrug our shoulders, Spiral the hands so that the palms start turning down to the floor, and let the hands come forward so that we can kind of start to reach and extend out in front, creating this nice rounded upper back. Again, our thumbs are spiraling down. As we inhale, we're going to shrug back up, spiral the palms up towards the ceiling, and then reach the hands straight down by the hips as we lift and extend the spine tall through the sternum and the top of the head. This is our inhale breath. Nice inhale at the top. Exhale, shrug as we scoop, getting as rounded as we can. Inhale back up. Basically, this is a standing cat-cow. Now, ideally on this, I want you to find a point off in the distance that you keep your eyes on and keep your head fixed on that point as we're going through our mobility through our spine and hips. We'll come back to our starting point. Now we're just going to focus on shoulders, keeping those hands, palms spiraled up. Now we're getting into our bowls of soup, so we're going to work one side at a time. Hands are spread as wide as they can. Elbows are extended fully. We're going to spiral one arm, thumb turns down towards the floor as we exhale. The other side is still staying up towards the ceiling. And then we're going to switch as we spiral to the other side. I'm starting with my hands a little bit low. But with each one, I'm allowing my hands to kind of rise up a little higher until I start to get even with my shoulders. As we're moving back and forth, I really want to pay attention to how smooth does the humerus spin inside the shoulder socket. How well does it spin when we spiral that thumb down? How does it spin when we turn our palm back up? Is it different on the left shoulder compared to the right shoulder? Is one side a little clunkier, less smooth? As we're getting into this, we can really start to allow that shoulder to round up and over, getting a little bit of more mobility into the spine as we go side to side. So now we're gonna get into some foot mobility. We're gonna start with mid-foot mobility. Wide stance. We're gonna let one foot come a little bit in front of the other foot. Want to spread the toes as wide as possible, and really spread the knuckles of the foot, the forefoot, as wide as possible. Shifting our weight over onto that foot, lightly lifting the heel. This is where we're doing our internal to external rotation of the knee. But as we're moving that knee in and out, I want to maintain a grounded foot. Ball of the big toe, ball of the pinky toe. Do not lift. They don't slide off the floor at all. They stay grounded and fixed as we turn that knee in and out. As I'm turning it in, I'm allowing some weight to go down into the ball of the big toe. See if you feel that stretch through the arch of the foot. As we turn out, don't let that big toe lift. You should feel some mobility, maybe a little bit of stretch deep in the intrinsic muscles of the foot. They may start to feel a little fatigued and tired. That's going to be a good sign that we're getting into that area that we want to. Once we get a good 5 or so on that foot, we're going to go and switch to the other foot. Again, spread those toes wide, shifting weight over so that we got a good amount of weight on that foot. Lightly lift that heel. Move that knee in to out, maintaining that grounded nature throughout the forefoot, ball of the big toe, all the way out to the ball of the pinky toe. And notice if it's harder to do this on one foot. Is one side stiffer than the other? Again, as that knee turns in, I'm allowing some of that weight to load into the ball of the big toe and arch of the foot. And I'm keeping that big toe grounded as I turn that knee off of it. Good. All right. So now we're still going to be in our feet, but now we're going to take a nice step straight back. I want this to be a relatively like a gait stride. How big your normal step is in your gait. If it needs to be a little shorter for balance purposes, that's fine. We're focusing now on this back foot. So generally I like to step back into it so that I keep most of my weight on my front leg. I don't want to shift all my weight onto that back foot. So nice step back. Grounding, spread the ball of the front of the foot as wide as you can. From here, we're actively reaching that heel towards the floor. If you can touch the floor, great. Regardless of whether you can touch it or not, we're actively reaching. And then we're also actively extending the knee like you're trying to touch the wall towards behind you. But again, I'm not shifting weight onto that back foot. From here, we're going to soften the knee, reaching the knee down to the floor as we plant through the ball of the foot, driving the heel up to the ceiling, and then actively reaching that heel to the floor, actively straightening the knee. Primarily, we're working on the ball of the foot, the big toe ball of the big toe. But also notice if you're not shifting that weight back by reaching the heel and straightening the knee, you may also start to feel some stretch through the front of the hip. Once we get about 5 up to 10 reps, we'll switch and do the same thing on the other side. So again, nice big step back, but keeping your weight forward. Spread the ball of that back foot. Reach the heel to the floor, actively straighten the knee without shifting weight. And then planting through the ball of the foot, driving down, lift that heel up towards the ceiling, and then actively reach that heel and straighten that knee. Notice if this side feels tighter, stiffer than the other side. My left hip, a little tighter in the front. It's harder to get that heel reaching to the floor. My body kind of wants to shift back. I have to really actively work to keep my weight forward on this side. Once we get 5 to 10 reps, we're going to go ahead and switch back to the first foot again. Nice step back. Spread the knuckles of that foot. And we're going to do the same thing, but now we're going to start working more pelvic tilt. So reach that heel to the floor, actively straighten the knee. Now we're going to bring that breath into our belly. We're focusing on this back pelvis. So nice inhale. Feel that pelvis tilt even a little bit more towards the floor. And then as we exhale, we're drawing navel into the spine and we're scooping that tailbone forward. The heel is allowed to lightly lift off the floor as we scoop, getting into that plant and drive. I want to see if we can feel this scooping action. Inhale, reach the heel back. Actively straighten the knee, let that pelvis tilt forward. Bring that breath into the belly, a little bit more sway in the back. Exhale, scoop as you soften that knee, lightly planting down. I want to see if we can feel this stretch and load through the front of this back hip. Once we get 5 to 10 reps, we're going to switch and do the same thing on the other side. So again, nice step back, spread the ball of the foot as wide as you can, reach the heel to the floor, actively straightening the knee, breathing into that belly, allow it to open up more in the front, get that sway in the back, pelvis is tilting forward. Exhale, draw the navel in. As you actively scoop that tailbone, then we can lightly let the knee soften, continuing to scoop into it. Again, turn around so I can point at this hip. Most of my focus is in this back hip. I want to really actively feel that scoops. Can you feel that stretch and load through the front of the hip? Can you feel it stretch as you inhale, reaching that heel back, straightening the knee, pelvis goes forward. This is a different stretch. Actively scooping is going to be a loaded stretch. Is it different on this side than it was on the other side? Again, my left hip tends to be the tighter hip. Once we get 5 to 10 reps, we're going to switch back to the first foot. So again, stepping back, spreading those knuckles wide. We're doing all the same stuff we just did, except now we're going to add a reach through our hand. So reach that heel back, actively straighten the knee, nice scoop. From here, as I actively scoop, with my heel reaching the floor, knee actively straight, I want to actively scoop at the tailbone without losing my knee, without lifting my heel, and at the same time, reaching up towards the ceiling, feeling that lift from the front of the hip into the abdominal viscera, like you're trying to touch the sky. Inhale, we're going to let that knee soften, plant through the foot, drop the shoulder lightly. Exhale, reach the heel, straighten the knee, actively scoop as you reach up to the ceiling, all at the same time. So there's a lot of movements taking place here at the same time. So as I soften that shoulder, I'm planting down through my foot, bending the knee, everything's softening. On my exhale, I'm reaching the back heel to the floor, straightening the leg, scooping and lifting up to touch the sky all at the same time. So I'm moving in two counter directions. I'm trying to plant through my back heel at the same time that I'm trying to lift to the sky in order to create this nice big traction stretch from the front of the hip moving up into that abdominal viscera. I want to see how big and open can we get through this side of the body. We'll go ahead and switch and do the same thing on the other side. So again, spread foot, grounded ball of the big toe through pinky toe, reaching the heel to the floor, actively straightening that knee. As we exhale and scoop, we're reaching up to the sky. Inhale, planting through the ball of the big toe, allowing that knee to soften, shoulder softens. Exhale, reach the heel, scoop, and lift all at the same time. Again, we're seeing how much can we feel that opening up, front of the hip, into that abdominal viscera, trying to lift up, planting down through that back heel, all at the same time. The more our weight is on our front leg and not shifting to our back leg is going to help get that stretch through the front side of that back leg and the arm that is reaching up to the ceiling. We'll come back to our starting side, which is this side. So again, stepping back, spreading the knuckles of that foot, actively reaching the heel to the floor, actively straightening the knee. Now we're gonna switch hands. So, right, I got my left leg forward. I'm bringing my left hand up to my side with the palm up, spreading the fingers wide. So, as I reach my heel back and actively straighten the knee, I want to add that scoop of the tailbone. And now we're going to actively rotate and reach back, seeing how far can we turn our shoulders towards the side. I want to keep my eyes on the horizon, so I don't want to let my head turn with my chest and my shoulders. So exhale, reach the heel, straighten the knee, scoop. At the same time that we're rotating, inhale, soften the knee, let the planting through the ball of the foot, bring the shoulders back to forward. Exhale, reach that heel, straighten the knee, scoop the tailbone, add rotation. As we're going back and forth, again, I'm feeling as I reach that heel back and straighten the knee, I'm getting that opening through the front of the hip, and now I'm bringing that stretch rotationally through that opposite shoulder. I'm still feeling it through that hip, but it's kind of moving into the obliques. We can add one more little thing here into that shoulder where we're working our bowl of soup action. So as I inhale, I can let my palm turn down to the floor. As I soften up, exhale, reach the heel, straighten the knee, scoop, and spiral the palm up as you're rotating back. We'll go ahead and switch and do the same thing on the other side. So, stepping back with that left foot, spread foot, grounded ball of the foot. Opposite hand is coming up, palm spiraling up to the ceiling, fingers are spread wide. As we actively reach that heel to the floor, straightening the knee, exhaling, drawing that navel up and in, scoop, adding in that reach and that rotation. Inhale, let that back knee soften as we plant through the ball of the foot. Arms come forward. Exhale, reach, extend that knee, scoop, and rotate all at the same time. Notice if one side of this feels tighter and stiffer than the other side. Left side is tighter, this rotation to the right is a little bit tighter than the other side was. Now we can add in that last little bit with the bowls of soup. As I come forward, softening up, palm turns down. Exhale, reach the heel, straighten the knee, spiral the palm up as you're rotating back. All right, almost done with these. Got one more to go. So coming back to our starting side, back foot steps back. Planting that ball of the foot. We're now going to add reach. So the leg that is back, that arm is reaching up, and the opposite side is going to be palm spiraling up as we rotate. So we're adding all of these little things together. It's a lot of cueing going on. So this is a movement that will probably take a decent amount of practice to really get it down. So stepping back, spreading the ball of that knuckle of that foot. As we exhale, we're reaching the heel, straightening the knee, and scooping. Reaching up with the same side arm. Opposite arm is spiraling as it rotates back. So I want to lift on this side as I rotate. Inhale, softening it all back up. Exhale, reach the heel, straighten the knee, lift, and rotate all at the same time. And we'll switch and do the same thing on the other side. So getting that nice step back, spread the knuckles of the foot wide, grounding the leg that is back, that arm is going to be up, opposite arm is out to the side. Nice inhale as we exhale, drawing the navel in, scoop as you reach that heel, actively straightening the knee. Reach to the sky, opposite hand is spiraling up, rotating back. Inhale, let it soften as we plant through that foot. Exhale, reach, extend that knee, spiral, reaching to the sky. Good. All right, so last movement series for standing. We're going to get into our step under progressions. Nice wide stance. Feet are facing forward. This is where I want to have really active feet. I want to maintain that spread ball of the foot, knuckles wide, planted through the ball of the big toe all the way out to the ball of the pinky toe. Heels are grounded as well, so heels are not lifting up. We're going to start with just simply sitting, hips into our heels on one side, coming up, sitting hips to the heels on the other side. Now, as I sink into my hips, I don't want my weight going forward. If my weight goes forward, my knee is going to track forward, and it's going to start to lift my heel off the floor. And I want to feel weight through my heel, which means my hips need to move back. I want to feel the weight of my hips driving down into my heels. Now, I don't want to do that so much that the ball of my foot starts to come off the floor. I need to maintain even grounding front to back of the foot. So I don't want that knee tracking forward because that means my hips sliding forward. I want to feel that hip tracking back so I can feel that weight in my heel. The other thing here is I want to avoid dropping my chest and bending over. I want to keep the chest somewhat elevated. I'm going to be bending at the waist so the chest is going to drop, but I'm still keeping my head up as we go side to side. Now, as we're going side to side, I want to maintain an active foot. So I don't want my opposite foot, I don't want to let that pinky toe roll off the floor. I need to keep grounded through that outside ball of the foot. The more I keep that grounded, the more I'm going to feel that stretch through the inner thigh. And this allows us to kind of compare. How does it feel left side compared to the right side? Is one side a little tighter, a little stiffer? As we start to feel it loosen up, again, we're just coating the joints with synovial fluid. Next, I want to work on glide. So however low we're able to go on both sides, we're going to stay at that point, and now we're gliding across from one side to the other. I want to get to where I lock out or extend that knee fully, keeping that outside part of the foot grounded as I move side to side. And then the last little part that we can do in order to really get into some of those deep hip rotators, this one can be a little bit more challenging. As we come to one side, we can lock our elbow or our forearm onto our thigh so that we're a little bit supported. And we're gonna lift that opposite foot off the floor and spiral up towards the ceiling. We can do 5 of these where we feel that turn of the foot up and bringing it back down. Now, as I'm spiraling that foot up, I'm also seeing if I can drop a little bit deeper into my hip. Now, I want to make sure that I have good balance and support and that I'm not getting into a position where I'm going to fall on this. Once we do about 5 on the other side, or 5 on one side, we switch to the other side. Again, lock that forearm in, feel that foot release, bringing it back, seeing how much can we sink into that opposite hip as we spiral that foot up towards the ceiling. All right, so that is it for the standing portion. I'm now going to bring out a chair. I want to talk about some really simple movements that we can do while we are in a chair, either like an airplane chair or in a car, even if we're driving the car. Obviously, we're not going to be able to move a whole lot. Airplane chair and a car chair tend to be a little bit restrictive. So I want to focus largely on pelvis, rib movements, a little bit into our shoulders. First thing is we can come back to our crocodile breath. Taking nice inhale into the nose, exhale out through the mouth, and feeling that breath expanding into the abdominal wall. Feel it moving forward into the belly, into the low back, and out through the sides. As you exhale, draw that navel all the way into your spine. With each inhale, see if you can expand a little bit wider. Next, we can start doing a little bit of light pelvic tilts. As we inhale, allow the pelvis to tilt forward so that we get that low back extension. Exhale, navel into the spine as we scoop. Feel that low back, that lumbar flexion. See if you can feel a little bit of stretch in one or both directions. And I want to move slow with the breath. The more we're able to keep our shoulders stacked and not let our shoulders move forward and backwards, the more we're going to isolate that low back area. This does not need to be intense. A little bit of movement just keeps lubrication. It keeps our nervous system kind of active. Otherwise, we get passive and our body just stacks all our joints and we end up like this for a number of hours as we're driving. So I want to keep active movement going through my spine because that helps keep my nervous system actively engaged. Next thing we can work on is getting into shoulders. Nice inhale, shrugging and lightly rounding the shoulders forward. Exhale as we roll the shoulders forward. Inhale as we roll the shoulders down and back. Shrugging up to bring them forward. On the exhale, inhale as we feel them draw down and back, getting nice and tall in our spine. As we get the shoulders moving, we can also combine that with the pelvis. Scooping the pelvis as we round forward so that we combine those stretches, turning it more into a seated cat-cow. And then the last movement that I really like doing while driving that's super simple is lateral movements of the rib cage. Simply feeling that rib seeing if I can let that rib cage move off my hips side to side. It's a very small and subtle movement, but it's largely moving from the ribs. I'm not moving from the hips. This can be hard to do. It takes a little bit of practice to really feel that lateral glide of the ribs. Note, I'm not moving my shoulders side to side either. Shoulders, for the most part, are going to stay over the hips, but I'm sending my 12th rib, I'm seeing if I can move it just a little bit to the side and then move it a little bit to the side. And we can do a lot of little things playing with the ribs here. Again, imagine we're driving a car or we're stuck in a small seat. I don't need a lot of movement to be able to get some decent mobility into my spine. I can also work making this into circles, where as I reach to the side, I'm extending that rib out, going to the other side, and then reaching back, and just playing with a little bit of circles, side to side, changing the directions of that circle. I can reach one rib forward and then the other rib forward, adding in a little bit of rotational quality in as well. Notice shoulders are moving, but I'm not moving my shoulders. The shoulders move in relationship to the ribs, but really I'm focusing how much can I move from this area of my body while I'm in the chair. You should notice that activates the smaller muscles around the spine, especially low back, and it's largely just keeping coating the joints with synovial fluid, keeping them greased and grooved, and keeping the nervous system alert so that we spend more time, with our core engaged instead of getting into this lazy, packed position where we end up getting stuck for several hours at a time.